Good afternoon, viewers. Sage here for Kalkine TV, and you are watching the Economic Corner. How has New Zealand contained the Covid-19 spread within its borders? The Reserve Bank of New Zealand said that the economic activity was returning to pre-Covid-19 levels, and the rebound in the economy is supported by favourable domestic health outcomes, improving global demand and higher prices for New Zealand's goods and exports. New Zealand became one of the first advanced economies to signal a move away from the stimulatory settings adopted during the pandemic, and house prices have risen about 30% over the last year, fueled by historically low interest rates and a shortage of affordable homes. New Zealand's government said it will resume quarantine-free travel with parts of Australia next week, and New Zealand is among only a handful of countries that has contained the spread of Covid-19 within its borders. The Australian Taxation Office will launch its new investment engagement service, or the NIES, on the 1st of July 2021. The Morrison government's plan to help attract global talent and to encourage global businesses to invest and relocate to Australia. And the NIES will further support business by providing customised guidance and improve the process for foreign businesses looking to invest in Australia. NIES will be made available to all foreign businesses that come through the Global Business and Talent Attraction Task Force, and will also be available for other Australian and foreign businesses making new investments into Australia in the vicinity of $250 million or more. Two antitrust lawsuits against Facebook, one from the Federal Trade Commission and another by a coalition of US states, has been dismissed by a judge. Judge James Boasberg in Washington, D.C. said the FTC's lawsuit was legally insufficient. He further added that the federal agency had failed to plead enough facts to plausibly establish that Facebook had a monopoly power over the social networking market. An FTC will have 30 days to file a new complaint. Facebook's share price jumped more than 4% on the news to a high of $357.36. China's move to allow couples to have up to 3 children is unlikely to arrest the deceleration in population growth, and China's 7th national census shows a sluggish population growth despite the gradual lifting of the one-child policy since 2011. Sweden's centre-left government resigned on Monday, but Prime Minister Stefan Löfven declined to call snap elections. The Prime Minister's resignation means that the Speaker of Sweden's Parliament now has 4 attempts to try to find a new government. And Japanese retail sales rose 8.2% in May from a year earlier. Japan's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate rose to 3%, which is higher than the 2.8% recorded in April, and there were 1.09 jobs per job seeker in May, unchanged from April. In-person convention in California since the start of the pandemic in July. Covid-19 brain fog will be among the topics discussed next month at the convention. And thanks for joining us on that report. That is all for now in the Economic Corner, but please stay tuned for more of the live updates from Kalkine TV, and this is Sage signing off.